Right now on Morning News Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth under fire again after a Pentagon review found he violated military rules when he shared details of a U.S. bombing in Yemen in a Signal group chat back in March. This comes as the fallout grows over that so-called double-tap strike on an alleged drug boat from Venezuela. And meanwhile, in Minnesota, tensions rising as federal immigration operations get underway. Senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News no single group is being targeted, while the president says something else.
That beautiful land, that beautiful state, it's a hellhole right now. And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
Donald Trump exposed what he really wants, what he really thinks. That's dehumanizing and hateful language, and a direct threat to denaturalize and deport American citizens.
And in New Orleans, Border Patrol agents seen making arrests. We will bring you the latest. Also, never before seen photos giving the public a closer look at the infamous Epstein Island. What we're learning from dozens of new files just released by House Democrats. Plus, deep freeze, a blast of Arctic air sending temperatures plummeting across the U.S., with some cities on track to break records. We will bring you your frigid forecast. And music to our ears, Rolling Stone wrapping up the year with its top 100 albums of 2025. We'll go through the list, which includes some fan favorites, but also some surprises. We love these end-of-year music wrap-ups.
Always fun to see. No surprises, number one, but I'm excited to dig into some of the artists that are also in the top 10 that I've never listened to before.
Exactly.
Those albums will be
a lot
on
of
the
new
list.
genres even, too.
Exactly. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you for starting your day with us. We're going to begin this morning with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at the center of another controversy. He is facing renewed scrutiny after a Pentagon watchdog underscored that he shared secret information over an unsecured group chat that could have put American troops in danger. The report, which follows an 8-month-long investigation, said Hegseth violated military regulations by using his personal phone to share these details about U.S. strikes in Yemen back in March before they happened in that Signal group chat. That is according to two sources who read the report.
It comes as the Trump administration sends top military brass to Capitol Hill today. They'll have to brief lawmakers about that September double-tap mission strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. One U.S. official and a source familiar with the Pentagon's actions that day tell NBC News the second strike killed at least 2 survivors of the first strike. The president was questioned again about this yesterday. He was asked if Secretary Hegseth or any officials involved should be punished if it's found survivors were in fact killed while clinging to that boat. In response, the president expressed support for the operation. He also suggested again the operation would soon expand to include attacks on land.
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people. We know every route, we know every house. We know where they manufacture this crap. We know where they put it all together. And I think you're going to see it very soon on land also.
Retired U.S. Army Colonel Steve Warren is standing by with us for military analysis. First, let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba for the latest. Monica, good morning. So Secretary Hegseth responded to the findings of this Inspector General report about Signalgate. He took to X saying no classified information, total exoneration, case closed. But the sources who've read it tell us the actual report appears to be highly critical of Hegseth. A redacted version still hasn't been publicly released, but walk us through what we're learning about some of the key findings.
Yeah, there's a lot of context here, Joe and Savannah, that's really important to all of this. So Secretary Hegseth is, of course, the official technical classification authority on some of this information, and that is what he is arguing and saying that essentially if he wanted to declassify whatever was shared in this Signal chat, that he could have made that decision. But what we don't know yet from the report, or whether it addresses this in detail, is whether he took the appropriate steps in declassifying that and going through that process that is considered appropriate. He says essentially that because he could declassify it, he did, and that's why no classified information was shared. But according to the sources who read the report, he still, given the information that he ended up sharing, did put some military assets in danger because of the information that he was revealing in advance in this way with this group of people that included a magazine editor by accident, but also some family members. It was a large group chat. So that is one issue. And then also here, there is the major issue of whether he should have been communicating any of this on Signal to begin with. That is a major violation. The president himself has said specific and sensitive military detailing and planning shouldn't be discussed on an app like Signal, guys.
Monica, I mean, Pete Hegseth, he's been the subject of scrutiny, a lot of drama surrounding him, even before he was confirmed to lead the Department of Defense. Now we have this Signalgate controversy back in the spotlight. Lawmakers have launched multiple investigations into that September boat strike that we mentioned a moment ago in the Caribbean. Is the White House now seeing him at all as a liability with all this going on, or are they still standing by him?
Publicly, they are very much standing by him. They are defending him. The White House press secretary released an entire statement saying that she believes that the findings of this Inspector General report say that what they have been saying all along, that there was no risk of sharing any kind of classified information. And so that is what you're seeing from a messaging standpoint from both the Pentagon and the White House. They are completely defending Secretary Hegseth. For now, we saw, of course, Secretary Hegseth and President Trump sitting side by side at that cabinet meeting earlier this week, where, again, publicly, certainly there is this backing of him. Privately, there is some concession that these kinds of stories are complicated. They only raise more questions. And we know certainly that some top administration officials and defense officials are going to be pressed for those starting today.
Yeah, and Monica, I mean, yesterday we saw a group of Democratic senators joined by Republican Rand Paul filing a resolution to try and block President Trump from using the armed forces to engage in any hostilities within Venezuela, against Venezuela, without approval from Congress. This comes, as we said, as lawmakers are set to be briefed on that follow-up strike on the Venezuelan drug boat. We're seeing lawmakers on both sides of the aisle engaged here. So who are they going to hear from? What evidence could they be looking at?
So a key commander, who is the one that the Pentagon says officially gave this order for the second strike, who is Admiral Bradley. And this is somebody who is going to be meeting with lawmakers behind closed doors in a classified setting, not just with Republicans, also with Democrats combined. There are several committees who are seeking information from him. And we believe that he is prepared to say, according to a defense official, that he believed those survivors were still technically military targets. So exactly why and the rationale for that is still a little bit of an open question. But what we believe he is going to say and is prepared to say is that perhaps these survivors after the initial strike, maybe according to some reporting in the Wall Street Journal, could have gotten back onto the boat. And if they were back on the boat, either trying to be recollecting or dealing with whatever the alleged cargo was on the boat, which the Trump administration says was drugs, that then they could have been military targets that needed to be taken out. But the official Trump administration position is that that second strike also happened in order to sink the boat, which is something the president says that he's okay with, even though he has also said this week he still wants more information. And he said notably yesterday, guys, that if there is additional video of that second strike, he would support releasing it.
All right, Monica Alba, thank you so much.
For military analysis, let's now bring in retired Army Colonel and former Pentagon spokesperson Steve Warren. Colonel Warren, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us today. I want to start with your reaction to this IG report, saying Secretary Hegseth could have put these American troops at risk had those group chat messages about the strikes in Yemen been intercepted by a foreign adversary on a platform like Signal. We heard Hegseth characterize this report as a total exoneration, but based on what we know, what we just heard from Monica, is that what it sounds like to you?
It doesn't, and thanks for having me this morning. What I think the secretary is maybe splitting some hairs, right? He's relying on the fact that the IG report apparently does not come out and say Secretary Hegseth spilled classified information into the public. We do not believe the report says that. So he feels he's exonerated from that act of putting classified information out into the public. What the report does say, and I think this is the important piece to understand for everyone listening, is the concept of risk. Every combat operation has risk. They are all risky operations. The job of a commander or a senior leader is to help reduce or mitigate that risk. And I think with the IG report, what we'll find when we have the opportunity to read it is we'll find that the IG report says that the secretary's actions introduced some additional risk to the operation.
Colonel, we're going to use your expertise to help us understand the chain of command where responsibility is supposed to lie. So when we're talking about this double tap strike here, what do you make of Secretary Hegseth sort of trying to distance himself? In your view, does this fall on Admiral Bradley, or does the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of War, potentially share some responsibility here?
I think there's shared responsibility, and again, what we have to be very careful here. I think as we discuss what happened out there in the Caribbean, first of all, we do not know exactly what happened. In this case, the Pentagon has not really explained in great detail these combat operations, which is a little bit of a break from what the Pentagon had done, say, during the campaign against ISIS or combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. So there's less information out to the public. So we don't know everything. I think what's also important is that the law of warfare here is it's not as cut and dry as folks want it to be. So the operational commander, in this case, General Bradley, is responsible for issuing the orders to strike or to strike again. That much is perfectly clear. If Admiral Bradley believed he was following broader guidance from his boss, the Secretary Hegseth, then that's a mitigating circumstance. But what I think is most important to remember here is that if Admiral Bradley believed that vessel or the cargo on that vessel was a legitimate military target, then he is within his rights, within the law of land warfare, as I understand it, to strike that target until it is destroyed. If there are others around, then they're unfortunate collateral damage.
Colonel, I want to ask you about something the Secretary said about the potential targeting of survivors in an instance like this a couple days ago. I want to play this and we'll talk on the other side.
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire, smoke, you can't see anything, you got digital. This is called the fog of war.
Again, with your expertise, just sort of explain the fog of war. I think we all kind of understand what that means, but as you understand it, and if Hegseth's explanation so far for that second strike withstands scrutiny, in your opinion?
It's right on the edge. Fog of war, really, in this case, what he's talking about is literal fog, the smoke, the debris, the spray from the strikes. Generally, when we talk about the fog of war, we talk about the fact that commanders or even troops on the ground never have perfect information. Combat is a very confusing, very violent, very scary thing. So the fog of war is that sense of you don't know everything that's going on. In this case, I think we have to take the Secretary at his word that he was not in the room when that second strike took place. I'm okay with that. But I do believe that Admiral Bradley, who is a very experienced combat operator and Navy SEAL, he is able, that's what you develop over time, is the ability to see through that fog of war.
We appreciate your time and your expertise. Colonel Steve Orrin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
As promised, the Trump administration has started immigration enforcement operations in both Minneapolis and New Orleans. Those crackdowns began on Wednesday. Comes as the president unleashed another offensive and xenophobic tirade against the Somali community in Minneapolis. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is there and has this report.
The senior law enforcement official telling NBC News ICE has begun enforcement operations in Minneapolis, all as President Trump is doubling down on his comments railing against the Somali community here, the largest in the U.S.
The Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
Minneapolis City Councilman Jamal Osman was born in Somalia.
How did it hit you when you heard what the president had to say?
The saddest part for me was just trying to answer my daughters and saying that why are we being singled out?
I won't answer any more questions.
Okay. Can you put handcuffs on him, please?
While Border Patrol is also launching a crackdown on illegal immigration in New Orleans, administration officials say ICE in Minneapolis is not targeting the Somali community, but just enforcing deportation orders already issued by judges.
We're going to enforce the laws of this country without apology, including in the Twin Cities. Focus is on those Twin Cities more because of the criminal activities been uncovered by DOJ and DHS.
Federal prosecutors have charged dozens of people in Minnesota's Somali community for allegedly stealing hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money, including from government programs meant to give meals to low-income children.
This beautiful place, And I see these people ripping it off. We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
But this son of Somali immigrants, who doesn't want to give his name, says the president is creating fear and unfairly blaming the whole community.
Other people hearing that, you know, they're going to really use that to come at us. That's what I'm really scared of.
And the police chief here in Minneapolis with a pointed message for residents telling people here to call 911 if they come into contact with masked agents, saying people have reported they're scared because they can't tell whether those agents are law enforcement. Border Czar Tom Homan responding, calling it shameful to call 911 on officers. Back to you.
All right, Maggie, thank you.
Well, this morning, newly released images are giving the public an inside look at Jeffrey Epstein's compound in the Caribbean. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released more than 150 photos and videos yesterday of what has been known as Epstein Island.
It is the tiny island in the U.S. Virgin Islands where the late sex offender was accused of taking underage girls as part of his alleged sex trafficking operation. These images, never seen before, offer new insight into the property as lawmakers keep pushing for more information on Epstein.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona joins us from Washington with more on this. Mel, good morning. So these images, they're just really a small part, actually, of the thousands of documents that the House Oversight Committee has obtained. What are we learning from these images? What files does the committee still have, by the way, that they're holding on to?
Yeah, good morning, guys. So there are over a dozen new photos and videos that were released by the committee that show basically various rooms throughout the estate that Jeffrey Epstein had on the Virgin Islands. Some of them are just bedrooms or bathrooms. There are no people in the images, and most of them are fairly normal. There's also a picture of the coastline with a no trespassing sign in one of the images. But at least two of them were rather unusual. There was one photo that appeared to be a dentist office set up in his house with some fake plastic masks of men, almost looking like Halloween costume masks hanging on the wall. There's another picture, the one right there, where it's a library. There's a blackboard. You can see some of the words power, deception, music written on that blackboard, but other words were blacked out, so we can't see what those words are. Now, we don't know the significance of these images because when Democrats released them, they included no captions and they did not include any sort of accompanying information about why they thought these images were important, other than to say that they are releasing these images in the name of transparency. But Democrats did also reveal that they have received new information, some bank records related to Jeffrey Epstein from both JP Morgan Chase as well as Deutsche Bank, and they're in the process of reviewing those materials and plan to release them in the coming days.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk more about this. I mean, the release of these files reminds us there was a law passed overwhelmingly by Congress last month that requires the Justice Department to hand over the remaining Epstein files within 30 days. That deadline's coming up. Lawmakers are putting pressure on AG Pam Bondi to get an update on these files. What is it they're asking for? Do we know when we'll see them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this request is coming from a bipartisan and bicameral, which means Senate and House group of lawmakers. Congress did pass a bill, as you mentioned, back before the Thanksgiving break that would require the DOJ to make public all the Epstein files. So that means that they have 15 days to do that. So far, though, they have not made those files public. And so what these lawmakers want to know is whether the files are coming. I want to read part of what they said in their letter. They said, in light of the short 30-day deadline to release the Epstein files, we are particularly focused on understanding the contents of any new evidence, information, or procedural hurdles that could interfere with the department's ability to meet the statutory deadline. So far, though, no response from the DOJ, and the clock, of course, is ticking.
In other news from Washington, Mel, we do want to ask you about, before we let you go, you wrote a piece for NBCNews.com. It's really looking at how several Republican women in the House have split from Speaker Mike Johnson recently. It includes Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene, Elise Stefanik. What issues have these lawmakers had? What are they butting heads with the leader on? Does this indicate any type of larger rift?
Yeah, so there are some larger rifts and frustrations, I would say, inside the House Republican Conference right now. But we have particularly seen Republican women speaking out and being very vocal with their frustrations. And I think the reason for that is that some of the issues that have been the most divisive in the party over the past few weeks and months have been related to women, whether that's the Jeffrey Epstein issue when they were trying to release the files. It was a group of 3 Republican women as well as 1 Republican man who led the effort, despite all this pressure from the White House, not to try to release those those files. And then there was also another effort to censure a Republican, Corey Mills of Florida, for his alleged misconduct towards women. And there were 8 Republicans, 6 of them being women, who wanted to go along with that effort. It did not succeed. But the result that we've seen is that Republican women are increasingly criticizing, even in some cases on the record, their own leadership and Speaker Mike Johnson. They're revolting on the floor, signing these discharge petitions, not playing ball. And in some cases, they're also retiring and seeking other opportunities. So all of that sparking concerns that Republican women could see their ranks depleted in the next Congress, guys.
All right, Mel, thank you very much.
Now to that Arctic blast, bringing the first frigid air of the season to cities across the Midwest and Northeast. Millions of Americans are waking up this morning to dangerously cold temperatures and sub-zero wind chills.
Out west, another round of winter weather is causing major problems as heavy snow and ice are creating dangerous travel conditions in the Rocky Mountains. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman will have a complete look at your forecast in just a moment.
First, NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster is in a very chilly Chicago this morning and joins us now. Shaq, first, our apologies.
Saw that puff of breath when you just left.
Yeah. Yeah, the forecast pretty much in the teens all day there. Describe to us what this feels like and how folks there who are hardy in Chicago, they're used to cold weather, but how are they dealing with the frigid temps?
I feel like you're asking me to describe my pain right now. I'm happy to. It's downright brutal out here in Chicago. It's temperatures that many people in the Midwest are feeling, but these temperatures are going all the way out to the Northeast as well. I did bring a thermometer here, and let's see what it says. It has a temperature about 10 to 15 degrees right now. But the big thing here is when you factor in the wind chill, that breeze that we're feeling right now, that's what's making it feel like sub-zero temperatures. Those are dangerous temperatures and dangerous conditions for folks. And again, it's not just the Midwest that's feeling this right now, but you're seeing much of the country feeling this Arctic blast. Not just today, but also we're going to be dealing with this tonight and into tomorrow as well.
Shaq, you mentioned the Northeast. What are some areas of concern for this part of the country?
Yeah, Northeast, we saw some wintry weather yesterday, really snarled traffic. You saw in Connecticut, there's some pretty crazy video of a semi-truck kind of sliding off the road. It's not just the Northeast, by the way. You have in Colorado some bad weather yesterday leading to massive pileups. According to police there, authorities saying that 50 cars were caught up in a pileup on one road there. Fortunately, much of that weather has since cleared out, so it's really the temperatures that are kind of the biggest impact for most folks today.
And when we talk about Colorado, not just the roads, but air travel, Denver International Airport, we had, what, 600 flights delayed or canceled yesterday. How are things doing there now?
Yeah, just for some comparison, that's about the number of cancellations and flights that we're seeing nationwide right now. So Denver really felt the impacts yesterday. I just checked and things are looking much better today. Likely that's because of that weather system really moving out. If you're looking at air travel, if you're flying anywhere today, one area to kind of be concerned is the Southeast. That's where you're seeing a different weather system, some heavy rain that will be going through that area. Of course, there are still impacts that you're seeing across the country. Here in Chicago last night, O'Hare Airport had about an hour-long ground stop, and there wasn't even significant snow. It was a combination of some falling snow and then these cold temperatures really slowing things down. So when you have temperatures this cold, this dangerous, you see I'm starting to fall over my words a little bit, that can lead to not only travel impacts, but impacts as I'm trying to deliver you the news as well.
All the impacts there, Shaq.
Shaq, we're done.
Of course, we will tell you to go inside, but we also fully understand Shaq will be out there pretty much all day long. So we thank you, Shaq, for your service.
Warm, right?
We appreciate that, Shaq. Thank you.
I'm here to serve.
For more on the bitter cold setting in, let's bring in our friend Angie Lassman.
And I'm just getting word, Angie, you're going to go out and replace Shaq. No, wait, Bismarck. No.
Oh man, suddenly I'm very busy. I'm unavailable, guys. No, it is bitter cold. I think that's the perfect way to describe it. Shaq has that extreme cold that has settled in, and we've got to talk about the Siberian Siberian Express and basically why we're seeing this really cold air settle in place. We've got an area of high pressure, an area of low pressure. You got to look way up north. That's the Arctic Ocean that you see right there. And those two kind of features in the atmosphere are ushering in that cold air toward Canada. Now, we've got more than 5,000 miles for that cold air, that pocket of cold air to cover in order for it to reach the United States. And it's doing exactly that. We've got this area of low pressure kind of hanging out by the Hudson Bay. That's going to draw that Arctic air into parts of the United States. So that is why it's that cold. Now, what you really want to know is how cold is it going to get? And we've got the potential to see a plethora of record lows here as we get through at least tomorrow. So here's a look at some of those locations stretching from the East Coast all the way back to the Midwest. You can see places like Des Moines, Chicago included in that. And temperatures this morning, bitter cold, as Shaq just mentioned. So -3 is what it feels like in Minneapolis right now, 4 below for the wind chill in Chicago for our friend Shaq, 18 degrees in St. Louis, but feeling like just 4 degrees. And even as far south as Cincinnati and Dodge City and Denver, all those locations are quite bitter cold this morning. And this is, of course, that coldest air of the season yet. Here's where we go for our afternoon highs today. 22 degrees. That's all you're getting in St. Louis. Just 17 for your high temperature in Chicago. 31 in Cincinnati. Little Rock, you don't even make it into the 40s today. And we keep that chill going into tomorrow as well. And this is where we're going to see an even better chance of some of those record lows. So 3 degrees for your early morning temperature in Chicago and feeling like 10 below. Just 9 degrees for what it feels like in Columbus tomorrow morning. Flint sub-zero for the wind chill. And even New York City, 21 degrees, but feeling like 12 degrees tomorrow morning, guys. Bundling up is a must. And then that cold continues, of course, into our afternoon hours on Friday. We'll see temperatures into the 30s for Washington, D.C., 28 for Chicago, 37 for Raleigh. And even as we get into early next week, adding insult to injury, yeah, we're going to have our next cold outbreak. You can see temperatures return to the teens for Minneapolis on Saturday, but here come those single digits by Sunday. So not putting our parkas and all those layers away anytime soon, guys.
I'd be okay if we got the snow and then the cold, which keeps the snow in place for the winter. We're just
you want it to look beautiful instead of just
we're going to deal with it.
Yes, I understand.
Right, work on that.
Okay, I liked the Siberian Express explainer.
I knew you would like that.
Thank you.
It's like the Polar Express.
Exactly.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, recommendation under review. Federal advisors set to discuss CDC policies on childhood vaccinations, how their decision could impact your family, and what doctors want you to know.
Up first, though, after the break, Olympic excitement. We will take you to Italy as the Olympic flame makes its journey to the Winter Games. Stay with us.
We're back now with a look at the state of our economy. The jobs report from the Department of Labor is usually released in the first few days of the month, but the government shutdown, even though it ended weeks ago, has delayed the release of November's jobs report. We won't see that until December 16th.
However, we do know the job market slowdown appears to have intensified in November after private payrolls fell unexpectedly during the month by 32,000. We're getting that data from payrolls processing giant ADP. Dow Jones economists had predicted a gain of 40,000.
Investopedia editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc., Caleb Silver, joins us now to discuss this. So help us break down these numbers. Why did we see this sort of unexpected drop in private payrolls? And do these private numbers paint a fairly good picture of what's going on since we don't have that government data?
Yeah, arguably a better picture, just because of the way they survey and the frequency at which ADP surveys private payrolls. And they do a lot of payroll processing, so they have a pretty good handle on what's going on in the economy. And yes, this is 4 out of 6 months that private payrolls have decreased. And the big decrease came with small businesses, those firms that have 50 or fewer employees. Those were shedding jobs at the fastest rate. Not a great sign when you think about small businesses do most of the employment in this country. So that's not a good sign. And this was the largest one-month decline that we saw since May of 2020, which tells you, is the economy really that bad, or are employers really holding back on hiring right now because they're unsure about the future of the economy?
So how concerned do you think this should make us? What does it say about the health of the economy?
Well, it says that the hiring situation is in right now a state of flux, right? And there are companies that want to hold on to workers, but we've seen not a lot of retail and seasonal hiring. We've seen small companies not hiring at all. And we've seen the big companies, the big public companies, announcing layoffs in the thousands. This is not red alert yet, but the trend is not good. When you see unemployment creeping up like this and private payroll confidence falling, especially through small businesses, it's a sign that businesses don't feel very strong about the position of the economy.
As we mentioned, the jobs report from the government's going to come in mid-December. But before that, the Fed will meet in...
Yeah, 6 days, 6 hours, and 32 minutes. I'm not counting. You're counting. But the Federal Reserve is likely to cut rates. If you look at the Fed fund futures, this is where traders are actually trading the probability of a cut.
Okay.
Looks like 90%. And that'll be a quarter-point cut, another quarter-point cut, which brings rates down into that 3.25%, 3.5% range. That's good news for potentially some parts of the economy, but those of us that have money in the bank right now in CDs or money market accounts or high-yield savings, those rates are coming down, and they've been coming down, and expect to see them continue to decrease into 2026.
What does it mean for our wallet if they do cut rates?
Well, if they do cut rates, again, money becomes cheaper to borrow, but the money we've been getting by earning interest in the bank, that continues to fall. So you have this balance. Those savers have done very well over the last few years. They're going to do less well going forward, but you could see cheaper money for borrowing. That could mean more hiring. That could mean a jump start to the economy going into the new year.
Hopefully you save the money for your down payment while those rates were high, and now that they're down, you buy the house.
Yeah, that could be a trigger for the housing market. Smart.
All right, there you go. Kayla, thank you as always.
Thank you. All right, well, the Winter Olympics begin in just 64 short days, and now the Olympic flame is well on its way to Milan, where it will light the cauldron for the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. Earlier today, the Olympic flame was handed over at the historic Panathinaikos Stadium in Athens, Greece. It is now on a flight bound for Italy.
Yes, it flies. It gets frequent flyer miles. The Olympic flame started its journey 1 week ago, and it was lit right there in an ancient ritual in Olympia, the birthplace of the Olympic Games. Yeah, I was indoors, but it was still cool. The flame then made its way to the ancient Parthenon Temple atop the Acropolis in Athens yesterday. Around 10,000 torchbearers will be involved in the weeks-long relay.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us now from Rome with more on this tradition. Claudio, good morning. What a great conversation to get to have this morning. This torch relay, it is one of these special things we love about the Games, a way for so many people who maybe won't get a chance to go to the Games to get their own taste of the Olympics as it passes by. Tell us about this tradition, how it's been kept alive.
Hey, Savannah. Well, you'd be surprised, actually, because the torch relay was introduced in modern Olympics in 1936 at the Berlin Olympics, and it was used during that time as a propaganda tool by Nazi Germany. Only after World War II, it became a symbol of peace and unity, and it provided so many incredible, memorable moments. My favorite ones are the archer at the Barcelona Olympics lighting the cauldron with an arrow, the Norway ski jumper flying essentially with a torch, and of course Muhammad Ali when he lit that cauldron in Atlanta fighting Parkinson's disease. And I'm sure that there will be many more memorable moments starting from today on its way to Milan and Cortina for these Olympics, guys.
Yeah, let's just talk about the last week. I mean, the Olympic torch is basically on its own Eras tour right now. So what does that journey look like so far?
Hey, Joe. Well, after that lighting ceremony last week, the torch was carried through Greece from Olympia, of course, the site of the ancient games, all the way to Athens, where this morning, as you mentioned, it was handed over in the ceremony. And now, right now, is on a plane. And I think this is one of the rare occasions when a flammable item is allowed on a plane. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, that plane lands in a few hours from now.
Just don't use it to smoke in the laboratory.
Still not allowed. Claudia, the next stop for the torch, it's where you are in Rome. What happens when it gets there, and then where's it going to head from there?
Well, later in the day, after it gets here, it goes to the presidential palace. It is received by the president of Italy as a kind of official welcoming to the country. But the actual torch relay starts on Saturday here in Rome, and it will touch, of course, most of the most famous, most popular spots here in the city: Trevi Fountain, the Vatican, the Colosseum, and so forth. And then 10,001, not 10,000, 10,001 torchbearers, I don't know why there's that extra one, will carry it through the whole of the country to 60 cities for 7,000 miles up to, of course, its final destination, Milan and Cortina, the two host cities of the Winter Games, where they will lit two cauldrons. This is the first time two Olympic cauldrons will be lit at the same time in modern Olympic history. And of course, we will be there to witness it all. Guys?
Claudia, we love to see it. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Coming up, an admission and an apology from the doctor linked to the overdose death of actor Matthew Perry.
When we come back, the emotional day in court as he learned his sentence in front of Perry's family. This is Morning News Now.
Welcome back. The doctor who sold ketamine to actor Matthew Perry before his death will spend more than 2 years in prison. He was the first of 5 defendants to be sentenced who have pleaded guilty in connection with Perry's fatal overdose back in 2023. NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal was in the courtroom.
In court, prosecutors called former Dr. Salvador Plasencia a drug dealer in a white coat. Then a judge sentenced him to 2.5 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to illegally selling beloved Friends star Matthew Perry large amounts of ketamine in the weeks leading up to his overdose. Perry's mother addressed Plasencia, saying he failed to keep the oath he took as a doctor. She also asked him to look at her as a mother. "It's a bad thing you did," she said. He looked at her and nodded. Plasencia also spoke, acknowledging he failed Mr. Perry, failed his family, failed the community. Eventually turning around to look at Perry's family, saying, "I'm just so sorry." During sentencing, the judge pointed to previously released text messages between Plasencia and another doctor. "I wonder how much this moron will pay," he wrote, and "let's find out." In a letter to the court, Perry's mom and stepfather, Dateline's Keith Morrison, slammed greedy jackals who took advantage of the actor, calling the doctor the most culpable of all. Perry spoke openly about his addiction, and his family discussed it with NBC News last year.
I have found a huge amount of meaning in thinking about the fact that this isn't our tragedy. This happens to people every day.
And there are 4 others charged in this case that have also accepted plea deals. That includes another doctor and the so-called ketamine queen. They'll all be sentenced in the coming months.
Camila, thank you.
We are following what could be major changes to the CDC's long-standing policies on childhood vaccinations under Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
A group of advisors to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is meeting today and tomorrow. They are expected to discuss changes to long-standing vaccines for kids, including whether to scrap its recommendation that babies should get a hepatitis B vaccination within 24 hours of birth.
NBC News medical reporter Erica Edwards joins us now for more on this. Erica, good morning. Let's start with the Hep B shot. This has been recommended for newborns since 1991. It's credited with bringing down cases of acute hepatitis B infections 99%. That's how much it's brought this down. So who's against that and why?
Hey, good morning, Joe. So I spoke earlier this week with the new head of this committee at the CDC, Dr. Kirk Milhoan. He is a pediatric cardiologist. His concern was mainly the small risk that the newborn baby might develop a fever after getting vaccinated. Now, a fever isn't necessarily harmful. His concern was more what doctors might do to determine the cause of such a fever, like additional blood work. A spokesman for the American Academy of Pediatrics, however, said that after seeing thousands of babies get the hepatitis B vaccine, he's never once seen a baby develop fever after that shot.
What policy change could we see come out of this meeting, and what are doctors and experts telling you about the possible impact of those policy changes we could see on kids' health?
Yeah, so if this committee votes to stop recommending that birth dose of hepatitis B and the CDC follows through on that, doctors across the board are very concerned that we will see a sharp increase in those hepatitis B infections. Now, the virus has passed from mom, who might not even know that she's infected, to baby during delivery. Giving the vaccine right after birth dramatically cuts the chances that the baby will get sick. This is an infection that causes liver disease, sometimes early death, and there is no cure. That's why experts are so fixated on preventing it. Savannah, Joe?
It's not just hepatitis B. We know the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices is expected to look at other childhood vaccines. So what else could we see change? And just remind us the makeup of the group and how it's drastically changed under Secretary Kennedy.
Right. In June, Secretary Kennedy fired all previous members of the committee, save for one, and replaced them mostly with folks who seem to be more in line with his history of vaccine skepticism. Now, there's no other vote on the agenda for this meeting, but the members are expected to discuss certain ingredients in vaccines that could really set the stage for future meetings and discussions about other vaccines. Joe, Savannah?
Erica, what's this going to mean for parents? parents if they're worried the kids that they have are not going to get the vaccines they need?
Bottom line here, talk to your pediatrician. It's the CDC still recommends, and most medical societies still recommend that babies do get that newborn dose within 24 hours, a second dose a few months later, and then a third before the child's second birthday. Savannah, Joe.
All right, Erica Edwards, thanks for staying on top of this for us. We appreciate it. Coming up, a recall alert. More than 1 million bags of shredded cheese pulled from the shelves. We've got the warning from the FDA.
And you could call it the year of Benito. Bad Bunny topping Rolling Stone's 100 best albums of 2025. And we'll go through the list next on Morning News Now.
We're back with some Wall Street headlines. This morning, a San Francisco court is siding with Adidas over a deal gone wrong with rapper Kanye West.
NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has her Money Minute for us. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning. A major legal win for Adidas in the fallout from its split with Kanye West, who now goes by Ye. A federal appeals court in San Francisco ruled the company did not mislead investors who claimed they lost money when Adidas shares plunged after it cut ties with West in 2022. The court says investors should expect risks when partnering with a celebrity. The breakup followed West's anti-Semitic comments and left Adidas with more than $1 billion in unsold Yeezy shoes. And cheese lovers need to be on alert this morning. 1.5 million bags of shredded cheese are being recalled because of potential metal fragments. The cheese produced by Great Lakes Cheese was sold under multiple private labels across more than 30 states at retailers including Target, Walmart, Publix, and Aldi. A full list of the products can be found on the FDA's website. Finally, this news just tin. The owner of Old Bay Seasoning, McCormick and Company, says it's returning to its iconic tin containers for the spice after switching to plastic in 2017. The company saying this will bring back the classic feeling and user experience of years past. The plastic containers are going to be phased out and the tin cans will start hitting shelves this month. And guys, you know, this is just tin time for the holiday season, some might say as well.
Nice.
Goes on and on.
I had to.
Thanks, Emily. All right, Rolling Stone has unveiled its list of the best 100 albums of the year. And several new genres landed a spot on the list, along with some surprise hits that dominated the charts. We're talking about upstart country, Afro pop, shoegaze, flamenco. I mean, there's something for everyone on this list.
Probably comes as no surprise. Bad Bunny claimed the #1 spot this year with his latest album. The 6-time Grammy-nominated Puerto Rican pop star capping off just a stellar year. Bad Bunny made history as the first singer to host a residency at Puerto Rico's largest indoor arena. And next year's going to get off to a pretty good start. He is the Super Bowl halftime show headliner, performing at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California.
For more on this year's top albums, let's bring in Deputy Music Editor for Rolling Stone, Julissa Lopez. Julissa, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Great to have you with us. What a fun topic of conversation to get to have. Before we get into the list, just tell us how this works. Like, how do you come up with this list? What makes an album eligible?
Oh boy, so it's basically every album that came out in 2025, and we start talking about this months and months in advance. I mean, even midpoint year, we released kind of the best albums of the year so far. And then after that, it is just debates, meetings. We tally everybody's favorite albums on the team. And then we start kind of breaking the list down every which way. We have smaller meetings with, in specific genres. We look at the top 10. We look at the last 10, albums that are going to make the list.
Okay, those sound like fun meetings.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of debate.
Intense debate.
Yes.
You're doing a Real Housewives episode. How has the list, do you think, changed over the years? Do you think it's like diversified more, or what have you seen?
Certainly diversified more, and I think that's so reflective of music and where we are now. I think things have gotten so much more global. I think that, it's also gotten longer. I think there were past years where we would do the 50 best albums. Now we do 100, which gives us a lot of options. It lets us talk about so many different genres. And I think it just really shows at how music has changed. You have an artist now like Bad Bunny, who's #1 on our list. He's also the most streamed artist on Spotify this year, so that's globally. So I think you're seeing that reflected on our list as well.
We were just showing some here, but let's get through some of the top 10. We said Bad Bunny #1. Who else is on this list?
Oh gosh, the top 10 I think is really exciting. I think it's all artists who are really innovative, who feel really singular. So you have Bad Bunny, you have Lady Gaga, who had a huge year kind of with her own pop comeback. Her album Mayhem is her first album since 2020. You have Rosalia, who released a really incredible album, Lux, that kind of combines these classical influences and orchestral music. We have this band Wednesday that I really love that says sort of this country punk rock sound. So you've got a little bit of everything this year.
Including flamenco, that was my favorite. Is there anything like you fought for really hard that you made sure got to the front, or anything you wish you fought for didn't make it that you think should have been there?
I was a big proponent of Bad Bunny being number one.
Okay.
I think everything that this album did is really exciting. This is such a heartfelt tribute to Puerto Rico, and I think it also led to this residency, which you mentioned. It's a 31-day residency in Puerto Rico that generated, as some estimates have it, between $400 and $700 million for the Puerto Rican economy. And it just felt like a very touching tribute to where he comes from. It touches on political issues, it touches on social issues, it touches on heartbreak. So I was a big fan of that one, and was really happy to see it at number one.
On the flip side of that, anything that didn't make the cut that maybe people will be surprised by?
I mean, I think that's up to people. I feel like what we got on the list, I feel really, really happy about. I'm sure, as always, there's going to be things that feel like were snubs or got left behind, but I think that's for people to let us know.
The coolest thing is, like, there's so many artists on here that probably people don't get to hear about, because maybe they don't, it's radio plays, maybe not a thing anymore, but they don't get like the platform that some of the bigger artists get, and now this is a chance to introduce them.
Exactly. I think there's some artists on here who are kind of on a smaller scale, but are still doing things that are really exciting. We have this rock band Geese that's from here in Brooklyn, and I think they're fantastic. Wednesday, like I said, I think is a really great band. You have bands like Amore, or Afropop artists like Amore. So you just kind of have a little bit of everything this year, and I think people are going to be excited to kind of go through it.
I mentioned new genres, and one of them that I said, shoegaze.
Yes.
What is that?
Shoegaze has been around for a long time. It's sort of this like dreamier rock sound, and I think there's a lot of artists that are really doing that this year. There was also a lot of bands on here that are kind of female-led rock bands. There's a band called Beaches that I really loved. There's this band called Mama that is really fantastic. So it was surprisingly a big year in rock as well, in addition to all of these other global genres that you're seeing.
So it's music that wants to make you gaze at your shoe. Maybe if you're lying down, often just, I don't know. We'll have to look into it.
Julissa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. What a fun one. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
That's right. And now the world-famous Rockefeller Center Christmas tree shining bright outside our studios this morning after a star-studded lighting celebration last night. We're going to have all the holiday excitement next on Morning News Now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready?
Let's do it.
Yes. Let's start the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Light her up.
What a moment. Rockefeller Center flipped the switch on its iconic Christmas tree after a festive star-studded ceremony. To many, this means the holiday season is truly underway here in New York City. Country star Reba McEntire hosted the ceremony, which featured dazzling performances from the likes of Gwen Stefani, Michael Bublé, Kristen Chenoweth, and Mark Anthony, with special reunion performances from the iconic R&B group New Edition. The world-famous Radio City Rockettes, of course, who are celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, also entertaining the crowd with their high kicks. Here it is this morning. We'll show it to you. The 75-foot Norway spruce wrapped with 50,000 LED lights, topped by that 900-pound star, covered in millions of Swarovski crystals. It will shine for the rest of the season and then into the new year. We were there last night, standing on the rink.
It's so fun.
I love the moment where it goes like dark for like a half a second, and then it's light. It just adds to the impact of it all.
And Al always, what do you say? Let's get it lit.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
It was so awesome, so exciting. Well, let's stay in our neighborhood to end the hour with a very special dance lesson for one 12-year-old girl. Thanks to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, she got to go backstage and hit some high kicks with some of those Radio City Rockettes. Linda Baccaro from our NBC New York has the details of an afternoon she will never forget.
8 and 1, reach 2, 3, drag 4, chaîné 5, and 6, step, flick 8.
For 12-year-old Lily, it was a wish come true.
This young competitive dancer from Arizona gifted a private lesson with two of the world-famous Radio City Rockettes.
And 1, reach 2, 3.
Some of the moves I was familiar with, but like all the footwork was harder.
7, 8.
Lily Santisi learned moves from Bailey Harding, a 14-season veteran, and Paige McCrae, who's been with the Christmas Spectacular starring the Radio City Rockettes for 4 years.
Being able to teach her the exact choreography from the Christmas Spectacular is, 1, truly very special, but 2, she's fantastic and was able to learn it so quickly.
Lily's parents and 7-year-old brother Tristan watched with awe and admiration as their daughter showed her strength here in the rehearsal studio and in her battle against a type of bone cancer.
Just very emotional. It's been a long time since we watched her dance on stage and even just practicing. So to see her back in the studio, it definitely is emotional.
Lily learned 12 high kicks. The Rockettes, who are celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, do 200 per show. How about those kicks? How was that?
It was hard. There were so many and it was so quick.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. And then that's the end of your holiday season combination.
Lily also among the 500 families from the MSG Families Foundation and its partner group, Make-A-Wish, treated to a performance at Radio City during Garden of Dreams Day.
Obviously, she went through something horrible, and you would never want that, but, you know, the organizations, Make-A-Wish and everything, they're just amazing that they just give these kids some joy, you know, when they are at their lowest, and it really just helps them.
That's it, back front.
To know that they're as excited as we once were as audience members, too, when we were younger and came to see the show is absolutely spectacular.
Okay, that is just fantastic. Our thanks to Linda Beccaro from NBC New York for that report and for the Rockettes for doing that. If you want to catch the Christmas Spectacular, performances run through January 5th at Radio City Music Hall.
Already seen them twice this year. All right, that'll do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, search for answers. Demands growing for a full account of that deadly attack on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth under pressure. The Trump administration facing calls to release video of the second lethal strike on the boat. But later today, the admiral in charge of the operation is set to brief lawmakers on Capitol Hill. All this as fresh controversy is emerging over classified information on another incident shared by Defense Secretary Hegseth in a Signal group chat earlier this year. More from Washington in just a moment. Also this morning, a never-before-seen look at the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's notorious Caribbean compound. It's part of new documents made public by House Democrats. We've got the latest on that investigation. Plus, a bone-chilling cold snap putting the ice on millions of Americans from coast to coast, coming on the heels of a powerful blast of winter weather that spoiled some of that post-Thanksgiving travel in several states. Our Angie Lastman is tracking it all as the temps drop across America. And later in the hour, we're just over 2 months from the start of the Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina. We're getting our first look at Team USA's fresh ceremony fits, courtesy of the one and only Ralph Lauren. Not just the flames, not just the competition, the fashion is, of course, a huge part of it, especially in Milan.
Can't wait to see them.
Let's begin this hour with Trump administration facing mounting pressure to release video of that deadly second strike on an alleged drug boat near Venezuela. Yesterday, President Trump said he would support releasing, quote, whatever they have.
It comes as the Pentagon's top watchdog released the findings of an 8-month-long investigation into Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. It determined that Hegseth put American troops at risk when he shared secret information about a military operation using an unsecured messaging app called Signal. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us with all of this. Peter, good morning.
Savannah and Joe, good morning to both of you. The Special Forces commander who oversaw that deadly September boat strike is set to speak to senior lawmakers in a classified briefing today, laying out the decision-making behind that controversial second strike, the targeted survivors on that alleged drug run. And it comes as NBC News this morning is learning new details about why the commander viewed those survivors as legitimate military targets.
This morning, the uproar over that deadly U.S. attack on a suspected Venezuelan drug boat in September is growing. The Pentagon already released this video of the first strike, but now is facing calls from Democrats to release even more. President Trump says he would support sharing that video of the controversial follow-up strike that killed survivors of the first hit.
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release, no problem.
It comes as Admiral Frank Bradley, who commanded that operation, is set to answer questions on Capitol Hill today, amid concerns that the second strike may have constituted a war crime. A defense official tells NBC News that Admiral Bradley saw the two individuals remaining on the boat after the first strike as legitimate military targets based on the rules for the operation, which may have identified them as narco-terrorists. NBC News has reached out to the Pentagon about what Bradley plans to say to lawmakers. On Wednesday, the president was asked if he supports the decision to kill survivors of an initial military strike.
No, I support the decision to knock out the boats, and whoever's piloting those boats, most of them are gone, but whoever are piloting those boats, they're guilty of trying to kill people in our country.
Most Republicans are backing the administration.
The Democrats are playing a very dangerous game here and wanting to litigate the powers of the commander-in-chief that are very clearly spelled out in the Constitution.
But one, Rand Paul, remains skeptical.
If there's video of people clinging to the remnants of a boat and being bombed, I think that image is one that will shock American people.
Hegseth is also facing new scrutiny for the information he shared on a Signal group chat in March about a pending military operation in Yemen. The Pentagon's Inspector General found that information was secret, adding that if it had been disclosed to a foreign adversary, it could have endangered American troops, according to two people who have read the report.
The Secretary of Defense put his people and the mission at risk for the purpose of sounding like a tough guy with a bunch of his friends on a Signal chat.
A Pentagon spokesman is framing those findings as a total exoneration. For its part, the White House says that the report affirms its position that no classified information was leaked and that operational security was not compromised. And again, the White House makes clear that despite some bipartisan criticism of Hegseth from Congress, President Trump stands by his defense secretary. Joe and Savannah.
All right, Peter, thank you.
For military analysis, we want to bring in retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. He's a senior fellow at Defense Priorities and the host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Colonel, always good to have you with us. So in response to this report, Secretary Hegseth seems to focus more on the detail about whether the information he shared in the chat was considered classified, not the part where the IG said he put troops at risk. In your view, are the findings of this report an exoneration, like the Pentagon says, like Hegseth has said?
Now, we haven't seen all the details of the report, so I'll hold final judgment on that. But I'll just tell you categorically, the instant that this came out, it was self-evident that this was 100% a violation of DoD regulations. There was no question about it. Because, I was served for 21 years. Every certain person knows who served that you cannot use an unclassified system to conduct combat operations. I mean, it's self-evident, and it was, I think, a real bad viewpoint for the Secretary of Defense, a bad example for the entire force. But see, it's also worse than that in a different direction, because aside from the risk of the mission itself, you're sending a signal to the entire force who knows these rules forward and backwards that the Secretary of Defense is above the rule of law. He's above our own regulations, and he can just make up whatever he wants, and there will never be a consequence. That's the message that's going through, and I promise you, people are aware, because if somebody like me, Lieutenant Colonel, or any other rank did what was done here, they would be in jail. I'm telling you, it's not an exaggeration. We would be held accountable. And now, if the Secretary of Defense is above that law, then you don't have a rule of law. You just have a hierarchy of power.
What a way to put it, Colonel. I do also now want to switch over to these strikes on these alleged drug boats and get your expertise, because I think for some of us this is a little confusing. Our viewers might have just heard that Peter mentioned in his report that a defense official told NBC News that Admiral Bradley, who called for that strike, considered the two people who remained on that alleged drug smuggling boat after the first strike, consider them legitimate military targets. How does the military determine in that moment if a person is considered a viable threat? What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, just the definition of the term, it's literally the words that you just used. You have to have a viable threat against the United States. The boat itself was clearly no threat to anyone. It was driving through the water. It was carrying drugs that we don't like and we think it's a bad thing. Fair game. Take it, intercept the boat, which we used to do a lot from this very area. But now that we have just unilaterally changed it, so now that we're just going to kill everybody, there is no international law, there is no American law that validates and authorizes that. So the strike itself, by our law, was not authorized. In the terms of the second strike, it's even more violation of the laws. There's no question that anyone who survived that strike and was getting on the boat could not possibly have represented a threat to anyone. The boat was dead in the water. It wasn't going anywhere, whatever they were doing on the boat. So to claim that's after the fact is just, again, trying to paper over and justify something that is clearly illegal and unauthorized.
Looking ahead now, yesterday, President Trump reiterated he thinks we will soon see attacks on land in Venezuela. Just real quick, in your view, how do you balance the benefits and risks of something like that?
Yeah, listen, first of all, there's got to be a justification and an authorization, and there is none. There has to be a threat to the United States that is a clear and present danger, and that only military force can keep our country safe from attack. None of that exists in any way, shape, or form. And so to go in like this, number one, it violates the law. It violates the tenet that you're supposed to be keeping our country safe. But militarily, there is no attainable military objective. We can go in there, we can blow up all kinds of stuff and kill a lot of people, but it won't accomplish any effective military political mission. A diplomatic objective won't keep us safe. So this would be a disaster in the unfolding if we go through with it.
All right. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
Well, this morning we are getting new insight into Jeffrey Epstein's Caribbean compound known as Epstein Island.
More than 150 never-before-seen photos and videos of the property in the U.S. Virgin Islands were made public yesterday, and this comes as lawmakers continue to push for more information into the late sex offender. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with the latest on this investigation. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning to both of you. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released these new images, which were obtained by the Department of Justice in the Virgin Islands. The pictures take us inside Epstein Island, a remote enclave in the Caribbean where Epstein was accused of taking underage girls as part of his alleged sex trafficking syndicate.
For the first time this morning, we're seeing new images of the notorious Caribbean estate dubbed Epstein Island. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee releasing more than 150 photos and videos of the sprawling mansion owned by the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Just a small fraction of the 5,000 images the committee obtained.
I'm deeply disturbed by this continuing saga of depravity.
The pictures revealing a room with a dentist chair and masks along the wall. A library with a large chalkboard with words blacked out by the Democrats on the committee. There are also framed photos of the financier and his partner Ghislaine Maxwell, like this one with the late Pope John Paul II. Videos of the pool area, bedrooms, and bathrooms, all part of the property many say Epstein used to groom and traffic young girls for sex. Steve Scully, who worked there and spoke to NBC News in 2019, said at the time he had no direct knowledge the women brought to the island were underage.
I have no way of knowing that, truly, but they appeared to be young to me.
The release of the images come as congressional investigators have received Epstein's bank records from J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank. The committee pouring through that info and plans to make it public soon. The money trail, a key focus of their ongoing investigation.
The biggest thing that we're going to learn is actually what's ahead of us in the next few days as it relates to all of the bank and financial records.
What they're still waiting for is the Department of Justice to comply with a law overwhelmingly passed by Congress last month, requiring them to hand over all the files related to the Epstein investigation in 30 days. The deadline is mid-December. But members of Congress are warning they better be prepared to hand them over now.
It's a Herculean effort. I hope they've already started it, because if they haven't, they're breaking the law.
And as the investigation continues to move forward, we're learning that Epstein's partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, is pushing to be released from prison. Her attorney informing the court that she plans to file a petition seeking to be removed from custody. Guys.
Ryan, thank you so much. And great to have you on set with us.
Yeah, thanks.
The Trump administration's sweeping immigration crackdown is spreading to two major American cities, Minneapolis and New Orleans, all as President Trump doubles down on his offensive and xenophobic rhetoric about the Somali community in Minneapolis. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is there and joins us with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, indeed. This latest round of raids, NBC News has confirmed, are now underway in Minneapolis and in New Orleans. This as President Trump yesterday once again took aim at this city's very large Somali community, stoking, as you can imagine, widespread anger and fear.
Man, leave them alone.
This morning, 2 new major American cities now in the crosshairs of President Trump's ongoing crusade against illegal immigration.
Can you put handcuffs on him, please?
The Department of Homeland Security saying raids in New Orleans are targeting people specifically released after arrests for violent crimes like home invasions and armed robberies. In Minneapolis, a senior law enforcement administration official telling NBC News ICE officers are not specifically targeting the city's large Somali population, though on Wednesday, President Trump again taking aim at the group.
And the Somalians should be out of here. They've destroyed our country.
So anyone who looks like me, that's who ICE is hunting in Minneapolis.
Hunting?
Hunting.
You feel hunted?
We feel hunted.
Minneapolis City Councilman Jamal Osman was born in Somalia. How did it hit you when you heard what the president had to say?
You know, the saddest part for me was just trying to answer my daughters and saying that why are we being singled out?
The Minneapolis area is home to America's largest Somali population. According to census data, a large majority, 87% of them, are U.S. citizens. The Trump administration's fixation on the group seemingly rooted in federal charges filed against dozens in the community for allegedly stealing hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money, including some from public programs intended to feed low-income children.
Focuses on those twin cities more because of the criminal activities been uncovered by DOJ and DHS.
This man, who did not want to give us his name, is the son of Somali immigrants. He says people in his community are afraid to leave their homes.
Because of that 1%, you know, he's using the whole Somali community in Minnesota as basically a scapegoat to do whatever he wants.
So here in Minneapolis, it's worth noting city and state officials are blasting both the raids and the president's rhetoric, and they're also in some cases encouraging Somalis who are U.S. citizens to carry their passports at all times. In New Orleans, it's a very different story. The FBI in that state actually announcing that federal agents with their bureau and Louisiana State Police, they say, will work together to both protect and, in their words, deter attempts to obstruct the work of immigration officers there. Joe.
All right, Maggie, thank you.
Well, now let's get to that blast of winter weather that is sweeping across the country, bringing record-breaking cold temperatures to the Midwest and plenty of snow to the Northeast. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman is standing by with your complete forecast. But first, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. Hoo boy, he is out in Chicago for us, where the temperatures are currently in the teens. Shaq, at least you're dressed for it. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning to you. Yes, it is frankly brutal out here in Chicago. Just to prove it, don't take my word for it, but look at this thermometer. You see the temperature right between 10 and 15 degrees. But the thing is, it's about the wind. You factor in the wind chill and it feels like 4 degrees below zero. These brutal temperatures not just being felt in the Midwest, but stretching into the Northeast.
This morning, a bitter burst of cold from coast to coast, with millions waking up to frigid temperatures, including dangerous sub-zero wind chills, following days of icy conditions.
This is my mail, or it was my mail. Now it's a slab of ice.
The Arctic blast bringing the coldest air of the season to cities across the Midwest, all the way to the Northeast. Bone-chilling temps already impacting holiday plans, forcing one major Christmas market in Indiana to shut down for the day. Across the Rockies, more nasty winter weather, heavy ice and snow creating dangerous whiteout conditions for drivers. Officials say more than 50 cars slid off this busy highway Wednesday. The wintry mix complicating air travel too, with more than 600 flights delayed and canceled at Denver International. Back east, upstate New York getting hit overnight with lake-effect snow and thunder.
Soon it will bring Christmas Day.
All as the heavy coats were out in New York City last night, with thousands braving chilly conditions for this heartwarming moment. The lighting of the Rockefeller Christmas tree officially ushering in the holiday season.
It really looked like a good time out there last night. Fortunately, that was in New York and not here in Chicago, or else you would have seen many more frowns, many more big coats as folks were out there. And, you know, we talk about this cold. This is not the normal early December temperature. Many areas in Chicago seeing the lowest temperatures for this early in the season that they've seen since 1991. Guys, that's before I was even born.
I think same, Shaq. Love you for that.
I remember the great Halloween storm in Minneapolis in 1991. So
Shaq and I can't relate.
all right. Stay out there, Shaq. You do not get to go inside. You were there the rest of the day.
I was saying that lovingly.
Yeah. All right. Let's get the latest on the freezing temperatures. I think maybe, I don't know. Were you born in 1991?
You know what? I think I was maybe like a couple months old, Joe. But it's okay. Listen, I remember the great, what did you call it? The great Halloween storm? What was it, Joe? What was it, Joe? Do you remember?
It was like 30 inches of snow on Halloween in Minnesota. Yeah.
In 1990.
It was a big deal. 91.
Okay. All right. Well, we got that figured out. All right. Let's talk about those lows that Shaq just mentioned. We've got a whole plethora of them. We're talking nearly or more than 24, I should say, of these potential record lows that we could see today and into tomorrow. Specifically tomorrow across the Northeast, but today centered across the Midwest and the Great Lakes. And you see why. Temperatures have dipped below zero in Des Moines, Minneapolis. Wind chills are just adding insult to injury when it comes to Minneapolis. Minus 15 for what it feels like when you step out the door there. We've got 6 below in Chicago, just 4 degrees in St. Louis, into the 20s for the Central Plains. Kansas City feeling like 2 this morning. The afternoon temperatures, they're a little better, but they're not making any big improvements, that's for sure, when it comes to warmth. We've got still temperatures in the teens for your high in Chicago today. St. Louis, 22 degrees. That's all you're getting. And notice how far below average these temperatures are. More than 20 degrees below where they should be for this time of year. So some really bitter cold air is kind of spilling into this region and then working its way east for tomorrow. Places like Burlington feeling like minus 5 in the morning hours. New York will feel like 12 degrees. And then we keep those really chilly temperatures in the picture across the Great Lakes in the Midwest and the Northeast as we get through the day on Friday. Now, that next outbreak, it's at our doorstep. So we kind of moderate out a little bit for some locations, but eventually the temperatures take a tumble yet again. So Saturday in Minneapolis, the teens, but then we're back to the single digits by Sunday. But we do rebound back to those 20s by Minneapolis, and that honestly will make a big difference. We'll see 20s through the end of the weekend in Chicago, and then same story as we kick off our work week in Indianapolis. We've also got some winter alerts to talk about. 13 million people under these, and they're kind of spread out across the country. Some rain across the Gulf Coast, some snow, and kind of a wintry mix for parts of the plains. And this is going to set the stage for this kind of slow-moving system that eventually stalls out, guys, over parts of the South. And this will bring some rain through the end of our work week and a potential for some light snow across parts of the Mid-Atlantic as we get through the day tomorrow. Most of that wet weather will stick around for Saturday across the Southeast as well.
The Halloween blizzard of 1991 was a historic snowstorm that struck Minnesota. I remember.
Oh, 1991.
1991.
I was born.
Oh, see?
And I was
you remember it
3
well.
months old. I was
Okay.
3 months old.
Anyway, I remember going trick-or-treating,
Yes.
and the snow started to fall, which that alone is something. And then by the time it's all said and done, 30 to 40 inches, depending on where you live.
Jeez, that is a lot.
Were you in college at this time? Or? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Angie won't be back for the rest of the morning.
Know where Shaq is. We're both
I'm kidding. I know you were only a couple months old, too.
Yeah, no, well, not that either.
We love you, Joe.
This went off the rails. Thanks, Angie. Much more to come here on Morning News Now, including the reignited search for answers overseas in what's become one of modern aviation's most perplexing mysteries, the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
First, after the break, President Trump now admitting the path to peace in Ukraine and Russia is unclear. We've got the latest next. Welcome back. There's new uncertainty over the prospects of a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. It's after President Trump said the next steps in trying to end the war were, quote, unclear. Despite that, the president called Tuesday's talks between U.S. and Russian officials in Moscow reasonably good. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel has the latest from southern Ukraine. Richard, good morning.
Russia launched multiple attacks against Ukraine overnight, and this is a scene of one of them. Witnesses say that Russia fired several drones at a power plant right near here. blacking out the power, but also damaging this nearby apartment building and causing injuries. And it came just hours after marathon diplomatic sessions in Moscow with U.S. officials produced no results. New Russian attacks in Ukraine this morning after President Putin rejected a revised American peace plan. President Trump reacting yesterday.
President Putin had a very good meeting yesterday with Jared Kushner and with Steve Witkoff. What comes out of that meeting, I can't tell you, because it does take two to tango.
And what do you have in here? In Ukraine, troops told us Putin isn't interested in a negotiated peace. We visited a hidden bunker near the front lines, run by a unit that calls itself the Flying Sharks, 40th Coastal Brigade. Here, they fix and fly drones to attack Russian forces. They even use 3D printers to make parts and bombs. They say the machines run 24/7 and print 100 bombs a day. This is the new face of this war. This little bomblet dropped by a drone. Empty now. How powerful is this? I wouldn't want one dropped on my head, the soldier said. Small in size, the bombs can be deadly accurate. Yuri Pantera showed us a new innovation, a Ukrainian-developed, remotely controlled rover that ferries supplies and can evacuate wounded, so humans don't have to. These troops told us Ukraine is strong enough and doesn't need to accept the unfair peace terms Putin is offering. I have a family, 2 sons. I'm fighting now for future peace, he said. In the nearby city of Mykolaiv, blacked out because of Russian attacks, Vlad Yakimchuk runs a cafe. He says he was a prisoner in Russia for 2.5 savage years, tortured and starved until his teeth fell out. He says Ukraine is unlikely to recover the territory Russia has already captured. But at least give us real security guarantees, he says, so Russia doesn't invade again. The peace process, however, is not entirely dead. According to a senior U.S. official, the United States has invited the top Ukrainian negotiating team to Florida today to continue negotiations.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, this morning, 11 years after Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 went missing during a flight to China, Malaysia's transport ministry says a new effort to find this plane is about to launch. The plane was carrying 239 people when it was lost. Now, pieces of the plane have washed ashore, but the plane itself is thought to be at the bottom of the ocean. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has followed this investigation from the start. Tom, good morning. Is there any new evidence behind this effort?
Hey guys, good morning. So we really don't have new evidence here, but the American company leading the search is using the latest technology to search an area that experts believe is the most likely resting spot for the plane and everybody on board. And for the families of those missing, it remains a haunting open mystery. For more than 1,000 days, starting back in 2014, search teams scoured the ocean looking for any sign of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Now, American company Ocean Infinity is about to resume the search started earlier this year, but then suspended due to weather, using underwater drones to find the plane, its passengers, and crew. Malaysia has agreed to pay for the search, but only if it's successful.
Whatever needs to be done must be done.
It was on March 8, 2014, that the Boeing 777 disappeared on the red-eye from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
But radar and satellite data suggested the plane made a sudden U-turn, flew back over Malaysia, then turned south, disappearing somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. The search zone, 5,800 miles off the coast of Western Australia. Over the years, small pieces of debris have washed ashore in the western Indian Ocean, on France's Reunion Island, and on the beach in Madagascar, where in 2016, American Blaine Allen Gibson found a piece with the words "no step" on it.
It has no step on it, as is written on many aircraft wings.
And now the Malaysian authorities say the search for MH370 will be carried out in targeted areas assessed to have the highest probability of locating the aircraft.
The airplane transmitted several pings up to the satellites. They've been able to take that information and isolate down to a relatively small area the highest likelihood of where the wreckage actually is.
The leading theory continues to be that the plane's captain, a veteran Malaysian pilot, deliberately flew the plane into the ocean. Investigators found evidence on a flight simulator at home that he practiced flying that same flight path. But what no one can answer is why. Ocean Infinity did not respond to our request for comment, but the government of Malaysia will pay the company $70 million if, and only if, substantive wreckage is found. But this area that they're searching is about the size of Connecticut. It has 55 days to find the plane. The company has already searched for the plane back in 2018, but no luck. Guys, back to you.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Coming up, growing legal fallout over last month's deadly UPS cargo plane crash in Kentucky.
When we come back, we'll dig into the wrongful death lawsuits filed on behalf of 2 of the 14 victims' families and whether they'll hold up before a judge. Stick with us.
Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with the name that has been added to the front of the U.S. Institute of Peace building in the nation's capital.
NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach is in Washington with this and more. Gary, good morning.
Joe and Savannah, good Thursday morning. Here's what's happening in politics now. The United States Institute of Peace is now the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. Trump's name added to the facade of their headquarters here in D.C. amid an ongoing legal battle about whether the Trump administration can dismantle the independently run institute's leadership. Former IOP leaders say the name change is adding insult to injury, while the Trump administration said IOP was a, quote, useless entity that is now beautifully and aptly named. Trump is expected to make his first visit to the building named in his honor this afternoon, where he'll participate in a signing ceremony with leaders from Rwanda and Congo. Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar, who was indicted last year in a bribery and money laundering scheme, was pardoned on Wednesday by President Trump. In a Truth Social post, the president said he didn't know the congressman, but that the congressman's nightmare was, quote, finally over. Cuellar said he hoped the pardon would, quote, clear the air and let us move forward for South Texas. Minutes after the pardon was announced, Cuellar announced he's running for re-election in Texas's 28th congressional district. And finally, a federal judge this week is blocking the Trump administration from making warrantless arrests here in the nation's capital. Judge Beryl Howell granting an injunction in a lawsuit brought by an immigrant rights group after several people said they were arrested without a warrant or probable cause that they would be an imminent flight risk. The Department of Justice said in September they were using a, quote, reasonable suspicion standard to make arrests here in D.C. during the administration's immigration crackdown. Judge Howell taking issue with that phrasing, saying that's not how the law works. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Well, the first wrongful death lawsuits have been filed in connection with last month's UPS cargo plane crash in Kentucky that killed 14 people. The suits are being brought on behalf of the families of victims Angela Anderson and Trinidad Chavez. The lawyers allege UPS put profits over safety. The lawsuit also names General Electric, which made the plane's engine.
The preliminary report by the National Transportation Safety Board found the plane's left engine and left pylon detached from the wing during takeoff, and that resulted in a fiery crash after clearing the barrier wall at the end of the runway. Both UPS and General Electric say they don't comment on pending lawsuits, but said they were saddened by the incident. They added that safety remained their top priorities, and they were supporting the federal investigation.
NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris joins us now to talk more about this. Misty, good morning. So help us just understand what the lawyers, are arguing in this wrongful death lawsuit.
What a horrible tragedy, but here are the legal issues.
Yeah.
So against UPS, they're the operator of this aircraft. So they're responsible for safety, repair, maintenance, and all of those protocols. They allege that they knew or should have known that it was insufficient. This was a 34-year-old aircraft. They needed to do more than what they did. As far as General Electric, that's the manufacturer of the engine. They say there's either a design defect or a failure to maintain the engine, and also resulted in this terrible tragedy.
So the plaintiffs, what is it they need to show or prove, do you think, to be successful in this suit?
So that preliminary report that you just referenced, that's going to be critically important. Of course, the results of what caused the crash is going to probably be a year out. But what we do know, and this is all from the complaint, is that there was maintenance that was done in September and October, right before. I mean, this crash happened in November, so that's really close in time. So what the plaintiffs are going to have to show is that that was insufficient. It's not that there was nothing done, it's that it was insufficient. And the question is, with that engine separation and that failure of the hardware that's in the preliminary report, how was that missed so close in time to this accident?
So what are the possible outcomes here of this lawsuit? I mean, does this mean that the families of these victims could receive compensation?
Yeah, so it's twofold when it comes to damages. So the individual who is deceased, there's damages relating to their pain, suffering, mental anguish. And then there's what's called the survivor action. That is lost wages, loss of income, and loss of basically love and services that you have relating to those relationships. And keep in mind, the victims are 45 and 37. So that economic loss, they'd be working for years and years to come, so it can be really significant. And don't forget punitive damages for egregious conduct.
Misty Maris, thank you very much. Well, coming up, if you're waking up in the Midwest or the Northeast this morning, chances are you're in for a bit of a chill.
A frigid Arctic blast from Mother Nature putting the cost of heat back on the minds of millions lately. As the temps fall, prices are boiling over. So we've got some tips on how you can save a little green on your bill this holiday season. Up next on Morning News Now.
We are back now with some ways to help you manage your utility bills just in time, since so many of us are dealing with these freezing temperatures this week.
Yeah, home heating costs this year are estimated to jump nearly 8% compared with last year. So what's behind the increase, and how can you save some money on that expense?
We have NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung here with more. Brian, good morning. Okay, so break it down for us, just like first, what are the prices looking like and why are they high?
Yeah, well, look, as the temperatures are going down, people are obviously ratcheting up their thermostats. But unfortunately, this year it's going to be more expensive to heat your home than last year. Estimates coming from the NEADA saying that cost this year across the entire winter season will be $976. That's almost $70 more expensive than it was last year. Now, a lot of people are wondering, wait, why is it so much more expensive to heat my home? It was also cold last year. Well, there are a few reasons for that. First off, there is grid maintenance and upgrades. A lot of these utilities are kind of trying to level up their game for that reason. There are higher expenditures that they're having to take on. They're passing that on to consumers. Also, AI data centers. They are putting in a massive amount of strain on the electricity grid. That is leading to higher energy costs as well. And also the price of natural gas for even heating that comes from natural gas instead of electricity, that's also up. So just across the board, it's getting more expensive for Americans.
So knowing we're going to have to turn up the thermostat a little bit, what are some of the things we can do to maybe shave a few dollars off of our bills?
Okay, well, if you loved me in the summer telling everyone to set their thermostats to 78 degrees, well, you're going to love me saying in the winter you want to keep it somewhere closer to 68 degrees. Don't get mad at me, get mad at the Department of Energy on that one. But a few other things that you can do if you don't want to try to compromise on the temperature that you keep your home, make sure you clean and replace your furnace filter. Seal those windows and doors. A lot of heat escapes actually through the bottoms and the tops of your doors. Lower your water heater temperature to 120 degrees. Some unnecessarily keep it super hot to 140 degrees. And also open your curtains, especially if you have south-facing windows. It's a free way to get heat into your apartment.
Great
or into
idea.
your house. Yep.
Okay, I know this costs money, but a lot of times ways that you can eventually save money is by upgrading things in your home. What are some of those?
Yeah, well, look, when it comes to upgrading your home, it's actually just maintenance in many cases. So have your HVAC and your furnaces serviced regularly. Generally, the good guideline is every year. Also, install insulation. A lot of people are losing heat through their attics. They're not properly insulated. And by some estimates, if you do a better job insulating your attic, you'll keep more heat in your home. You could save up to 15% on your energy costs. And then the one last thing is actually you can hire a consultant to come into your house and take a look and say, hey, here are the upgrades that you can make to make sure that you save a little bit more on your energy, because of course it depends on the shape in some cases and the size of your home, apartment, or condo. Make sure that you're maximizing that, because it could be real savings on that energy bill.
Awesome. Brian Chung, thank you so much. Stay warm.
Yep.
Let's stick with your wallet now. Get to the latest on Wall Street. And Paramount reportedly raising the stakes in that ongoing bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery.
NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning. Paramount Skydance is sweetening its bid for Warner Brothers, the parent company of HBO and CNN. According to Bloomberg, Paramount has more than doubled its proposed breakup fee to now $5 billion. Signaling confidence it can clear regulators as Warner Brothers reviews offers from Paramount, Netflix, and Comcast, which is NBC's parent company. Warner Brothers could soon choose a winning bid, setting the stage for what could be one of the biggest media shakeups ahead. And Waymo's driverless rides have just pulled up to a new major city. The company started test drives in Philadelphia with human specialists still behind the wheel as it works toward fully driverless ride hailing. It's a major step as Waymo expands across the East Coast, but also steers past incidents in other cities and faces skepticism along the way. Waymo also announced it's going to start manually driving in 3 other cities this week: St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. Finally, Zootopia 2 is racing up the box office charts, and it just smashed another milestone. Disney's animated sequel has now topped $600 million worldwide in just 7 days. It's already driven past Mission Impossible and Superman to make it the #6 global studio release of 2025. With Japan opening tomorrow, the film's numbers are expected to soar. And guys, I don't know if you've seen those videos online, but in China, at some pet-friendly theaters, everyone is bringing their dogs to go see the film too. And even in some of those theaters, they're offering amenities like diapers and pads and wipes. So it's a family affair with even those pets.
Wow.
That's fun. No, thank
Do
you.
we have pet-friendly theaters here? I don't know that we do.
I don't know about that either.
All right.
That'd be cool, though. I'd go just to pet the dogs, you know?
Without one. Interesting. Emily, thank you so much. All right, now let's get to some breaking news out of Washington. The FBI has arrested a suspect in the investigation into pipe bombs that were planted in the nation's capital in January of 2021. This is according to a federal law enforcement official who's familiar with the investigation.
The bombs were planted near the Republican and Democratic National Party headquarters on the eve of the January 6th siege on the Capitol. This arrest marks a break in a case that has stumped investigators for nearly 5 years. Stay with us. We'll have more on this throughout the day. All right, let's get to a lighter note here. For the past 4 decades, our next guest has brought comfort, hope, and smiles to millions of listeners through her late-night radio show and instantly recognizable voice.
Now, Delilah, the self-proclaimed queen of sappy love songs, is connecting to a whole new audience through social media.
We are honored, truly honored to have Delilah joining us now on set. This is like amazing for me. I mean, you've been on the air since '83. Misty Maris and I were just talking about driving home from college. I had like a 7-hour drive. I was listening to Delilah, and
At
it
least
was just
5 of it.
Exactly. I mean, it just. What do you think it is about your show that has connected with so many people for so long?
Well, what you just said and what your legal advisor said, I'm a part of those memories. You know, I'm a part of the memories of you're supposed to be studying for a test, but you're out getting pizza with your best friend, you know, and listening to the Delilah show. I'm a part of the memories of the kids that fell asleep in the back car, the back of the van, and hoping that mom would carry them into the house, you know. So I'm kind of woven into the fabric of milestones, of grade school and football practice and piano practice and college. And so...
And it is that voice that we hear and we immediately know. And now you're bringing this to a new generation, right? Like the new people are forming memories with you because of this popularity on social media. 2 million followers, including 500,000 on TikTok across your platforms. What's that been like to watch that happen?
Incredible. You know, when I started in radio, the reason my show developed, I was in radio for 10 years before I started the show, is because I loved the phone lines. I loved connecting with listeners. I still do. I stinking love going in my studio every stinking night and getting your stories and finding out who you love and why you love them and what's going on. But social media, especially TikTok, has brought that to a whole new immediacy level. Like, they don't have to wait to see if the phone line's busy. They just, you know, I post, they post back, and I'm just, my mind is blown.
You have that interaction with it. And what I've always loved about you is, like, typically people would call a radio station to make a request. They call to share their story with you, and then you decide what song feels most fitting for that, which I think is
sometimes they're a little specific. You know, it was the song we danced to at our wedding, and then I don't have much leeway. But, yeah, because my brain remembers the strangest things.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you 5 million facts about crows right now if you need to know, but one of the things I'm very blessed to remember is lyrics. So when I hear a song that lyrically speaks to my heart, it goes in the file system. And when somebody's talking to me, I'm typing, you know, I take notes, and then the song will come, like the lyric will come. And I laugh because that's how my dad was. If you said to my dad, you know, how much are those new shoes? He would break into, how much is that dog in the wind? He like knew every lyric to every corny song. And I somehow got that gene. And so I know every lyric to every love song ever written. And it works.
Derail this and go the Crow route, but I won't because I do have a lot of questions about that.
I could go on. When my neurodivergent brain hyper focuses, it's scary.
And crows, what do you know so much about?
Crows, yeah, corvids in general.
In the process of hearing from viewers, we've also heard so much from you. And you share a lot about your personal life, even detailing a lot of tough stuff that you've been through in a biography. How do you decide what you're going to share?
I don't. I have no filter. You guys have filters, you have prompters, you have scripts. It's me and a microphone. And when somebody calls me, and they're, being transparent and being honest.
Oh, right.
And part of ADHD, I've just found this out the last few years, kind of like my Crowfax, is when somebody tells us something, we're eager to share a similar experience. We're not trying to negate your pain or one-up you. Yeah. It's just what we do to connect. And so stuff comes out of my mouth before the filter. There's no filter.
We only have a few seconds, but I do want to make sure we ask you. You partnered with Calm. This seems like a no-brainer. You're doing
kidding.
A sleep story called The One. What's this like for you?
Oh, it was so sweet. It's an actual listener story, and we developed it. Kind of cool that Matthew McConaughey is also on the Calm app, but it was fun. It's a fun story.
I think he feels the same way about you. He's like,
really?
all right. Delilah's on the app.
What a joy it was to get to speak with you today.
Thank you.
And if you want to listen to join Delilah's millions of listeners, her show broadcast on more than 130 radio stations across the country, also available streaming through iHeartRadio.
Thank you, Delilah.
Thank you.
Coming up, you could call it a fit check of Olympic-sized proportions.
After the break, we're trying on Team USA's fashionable new duds with less than 100 days to go before the Winter Games in Milan Cortina. That is next on Morning News Now. Okay, we're going to end this hour with the upcoming 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan. The Olympic opening ceremony is now just 63 days away. They start on February 6th. And this morning, we are excited to bring you one of the first looks of the new official uniforms for Team USA.
Yeah, you can see them right here on the screen. These are the brand new opening and closing ceremony uniforms designed, of course, by Ralph Lauren. The brand has returned as the official outfitter for the Winter Olympics this year, marking its 10th consecutive games dressing American athletes.
And we are thrilled to have two gold medal winning Paralympic and Olympic athletes in our studio this morning. We have two-time Paralympic snowboarder Brenna Huckabee and two-time Olympic snowboarder Red Gerard. They are both Ralph Lauren brand ambassadors. Brenna and Red, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. We are so excited to see these uniforms and get to meet you both. And before we get into the details of what you both have on, I just want to talk to you both about the games. Brenna, I know you haven't qualified quite yet, but on your way. How are you feeling? How are you preparing?
Yeah, I feel really good. I feel really confident. I'm having fun, and I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
Certainly.
Clearly you're training, right? She's not an MMA fighter, in case you're wondering.
Sometimes I'm not great at my sport.
we doubt that. We know you're great.
Yeah.
Red, you have qualified. This is going to be your third games. I mean, I guess you must be in just major training mode right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, trying to get better at snowboarding, but also, staying safe at the same time before you go there. You don't want to hurt yourself. So, yeah.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we know. Let's talk about the uniforms that you're both wearing. The ones with you're not wearing the jackets, but let's just talk through. We saw those there, which are really cool. The ones with the white coats are for opening ceremony, and then the color block ones that you saw on screen a moment ago, those are for closing. Tell us about the inspiration behind both these looks, and I can already see the sweaters, pants. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think it's like clean, crisp, like chic look going on here.
Yeah.
I think I love the Aguitos here. And then on the back, it says USA. Sorry.
That is so cute.
It's okay to do, but
yes, of course.
That's like my favorite part. Yeah, super cute and cozy.
Yeah, we don't have a runway here, so you have to turn this into a runway for us. I mean, Red, the cool thing is obviously the athletes get these. Yeah. That's a huge perk for y'all, but it's not just for athletes, right? Tell us more about who's able to get these uniforms.
No, I think as of today, you can go to the store and buy them. And it's a pretty special thing. Polo Ralph Lauren's been doing this since 2008, and gotten to see a lot of the opening and closing ceremonies, but this is definitely one of my favorites. I love what they went with the baggy cargo pant, you know, a little bit. Baggy's back in, so, you know.
There you go.
And
Perfect
this is
for you.
closing?
This is closing.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is opening. Little differences there, but how exciting. I feel like we all need that sweater.
Yeah, today especially.
Exactly. I know that we're just getting started here. We're still a ways away, 63 days to opening ceremony. But for both of you, what does it feel like when you put some of the official gear on for the first time?
It reminds you that it's right around the corner. It's crazy. It happens so quickly. It happens, you know, every 4 years. Like, oh, I got so much time, and then before you know it, you're putting the sweaters back on and you're ready to go.
How are you feeling?
Happens fast. I'm mildly panicked, but very excited.
The thought of Milan Cortina, I mean, going there, being in Italy, being in this part of the world, I mean, what do you think that experience is going to be like, especially compared with probably the last 2 Olympics you have, which were in a totally different part of the world?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really fun. Yeah, I mean, the last 2 Olympics are great times, you know, being over in Asia and stuff. But I think, you know, going over to Europe, it's a lot like America. It's going to feel a little bit more like home turf. And, you know, especially for us, we're going to be up in the Alps. And, you know, that's what Italy and that region is known for, is snowboarding. So I think it's going to be beautiful and awesome.
What happens with 63 days to go? Like, what is crunch time like?
Yeah, I'm competing. So a lot of competitions and a lot of training. Yeah, it's like business as usual.
Just try to get as good as you can at snowboarding, really, before the big day.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
That's
Break it
the
down. You gotta do it
secret.
simple.
Okay, so if it's in Italy, here's my question, because there's pasta there,
Yeah.
right? Lots and lots of pasta. So it's like, is the pasta a good thing because it gives you the carbs, or is it a bad thing because maybe it's not the healthiest thing you're supposed to eat? Break down how the pasta will fit into your strategies here.
Pasta will be there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be eating it the whole time. That and the coffee.
Coffee for sure. I'm a gravity sport, so like, give me the weight. Like, I'm not saying no to pasta.
Snowboarders don't have much work. We're like, eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want, just try to stay healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, good.
We can't think of a better place then, maybe.
Yeah.
If, like, the carbs are good.
For sure. It's going to be incredible. Diavola pizzas all the way.
Yes, with the chili oil.
Yeah, the spicy one. Yeah, pizza or pasta?
I'm pizza, personally.
Pasta on your pizza?
There you go.
Maybe.
That's wild.
Carbs on carbs.
I hope someone's listening to this.
Brad Gerard and Brenna Huckabee, thank you both so much for being here this morning. Congratulations on your journey to the Games. We can't wait to see you there.
And of course, you can catch all the action for the 2026 Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina, starting with the opening ceremony. That's Friday, February 6th on NBC and on Peacock. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
One more look at the tree. Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.